Welcome to the Give and Go. My name's Tim, and today we're doing rapid fire free agency predictions. Free agency starts this Thursday, and legal tampering begins tomorrow. So we're gonna go 5 minutes. I'm gonna go through all the free agents that are possible in those 5 minutes. Let's get started. So, Alshon Jeffrey, who do I think he'll go to? They have a variety of options. We have Philadelphia, San Francisco, Tennessee, Arizona, and he could even return back to Chicago. Honestly, I think the best thing for him, I believe he ends up in San Francisco with the 49ers and Kyle Shanahan. Next up, we got Calais Campbell, defensive end from the Arizona Cardinals. I think he'll go over to Tampa Bay. It'll be a good young team over there with some great defense. Next up, I'm going to talk about Donta Hightower. He was not franchise tagged by the New England Patriots last week, so he has a variety of options to explore, but eventually I think he returns to New England with a team-friendly contract. Next is AJ Bouye, who the Houston Texans failed to franchise tag after his breakout season with the Houston Texans. He has a variety of options from Cleveland, Philadelphia, Tennessee, Indianapolis. He could return back to Houston, but overall I think the money's going to be calling for him from Cleveland, and so the Cleveland Browns will have someone opposite of Joe Hayden at the cornerback position. Next, Stephon Gilmore, who was franchise tagged last offseason by the Buffalo Bills, and he's going to leave this offseason. I think the Chicago Bears will be his landing place alongside Kyle Fuller at the cornerback position. Next up, we got Kevin Zeitler, who unfortunately was not franchise tagged by the Cincinnati Bengals, as he's one of the best young guards across the league. I think he also goes over to the Cleveland Browns with Hugh Jackson as their coach, as he was the quarterback coach and offensive coordinator with Cincinnati. Next, we got AP, who was cut this past week from the Minnesota Vikings. He could return to Minnesota, he could go to Oakland, he could go to Tampa Bay, but eventually I think he'll end up in New York with the New York Giants, as he wants to win a playoff game and make the Super Bowl. Next, we got Terrell Pryor, who really surprisingly, with the $105 million in cap space that Cleveland had, was not franchised. I think he'll end up back in Cleveland, though, as they'll offer him a humongous extension. And so they'll be signing, I think, Kevin Zeitler, AJ Bouye, Terrell Pryor, and possibly some other options. Next, we got Dontari Poe, who was not franchised by the Kansas City Chiefs. I think he ends up with Indianapolis. Also, we got Deshaun Jackson, who is reportedly going to Tampa Bay, and I totally agree with that move, putting him opposite of Mike Evans. Next up, we got Martellus Bennett. It's looking like he's either going to go to Oakland, Jacksonville, and possibly reunite with his brother in Seattle, but I think Oakland will definitely need a new tight end, so Oakland with Martellus Bennett. Andrew Whitworth will return to Cincinnati this offseason, and I believe Pierre Garcon will head over with Kyle Shanahan to San Francisco. In addition, I think Ricky Wagner is going to find a new home, the right tackle of the Baltimore Ravens. I think he'll end up in Minnesota with the Vikings. Next, I also think that Eddie Lacy will stay in Green Bay this offseason after having a injury-ridden 4 years with the Green Bay Packers. I think Brandon Marshall will stay in New York, hook up with AP, OBJ, and Brandon Marshall's going to have a great time with the New York Giants this year. In addition, Mike Glennon, I think he'll head over to Chicago and be the quarterback there. Jamal Charles, it's been rumored he'll go over to Philadelphia. Honestly, I don't think that's true, as they don't have the cap space necessary to sign him. I think his best option is to head over to Indianapolis with his former GM. Next up, though, I got Carolina's Charles Johnson. I think he stays put once again after signing a one-year deal this past offseason. Julius Peppers, he might be coming home to Carolina, he might not, but I think eventually he'll come back to Green Bay and see that he has a special quarterback in Aaron Rodgers. Latavius Murray, I could totally see him going to Minnesota to fill the void left by Adrian Peterson this past offseason. In addition, LeGarrette Blount, I think he stays put in New England after going to Pittsburgh for a little bit, failing a drug test, and then he headed back to New England, winning a Super Bowl, so I think he stays put in New England. Next, I'm talking about Nick Mangold, who was the center for the New York Jets and was surprisingly cut this past offseason. He has a variety of options, but honestly, truly, I think Washington will come calling after Corey Lichtsteiner retired this offseason, one of the best centers in the league. Next, though, we're going to talk about Brian Hoyer, who I think he'll be a stopgap solution for one team, and that team, I believe, will be the San Francisco 49ers. Some other rapid fire predictions, I'm thinking that Tyrod Taylor will be cut this week. He'll head over to Cleveland. We'll have Jay Cutler leave Chicago, going over to Buffalo. It's going to be a crazy quarterback carousel and a great free agency starting on Thursday with legal tampering beginning Tuesday. Go ahead and subscribe and like this video. In addition, we're coming out with an AFC and NFC West 32 for 32 tomorrow and our first pre-free agency mock draft. In addition, go ahead and check out the Kick Round, the other show on The Give and Go. Have a great day.